Hey everybody, it's your captain here, back again in just a few days, and guess what I'm talking about? I'm talking about Godzilla, King of the Monsters. But I'm gonna talk about spoilers! That's right, I'm gonna talk about some spoilers this time about Godzilla King of the Monsters. So if you haven't seen the movie, why the fuck would you click on a video that says there are spoilers in the video? Hmm? Hmm? I will never understand that. But your first and final warning, spoilers. I'm going to talk about spoilers, stuff that happens in the movie that people might not want to know about in case you didn't know what a spoiler was. On with the show. Whoo! Boy, does this freaking movie jam a whole lot of stuff into it. I love it. If you haven't watched my review, go and check that out. Yeah, I totally love this movie. Let's start with the biggest plot twist in the whole movie, because why the hell not? The fact that it's kind of given away in the trailer if you're really paying attention, but the movie is trying to be coy in telling you that the Dr. Emma Russell character is really good, but she is actually behind everything. She's the one that hired Charles Dance's what's his character, Jonah Allen, his like mercenary character, and they are the ones that go and release King Ghidorah to wreak havoc on the world, because you know, like a lot of movies recently, humans are the plague, and we need to fix that by wiping out a little bit of the species, which, if you ask me, is kind of right out of Infinity War. Confirmed, Ghidorah is Thanos. But yes, we find out partly into the movie that Dr. Emma Russell is actually behind releasing all the monsters, and that she has informed her daughter of her plans, though they make it seem like she's not, like she kind of sugarcoated it a bit for her daughter, or maybe Dr. Emma was expecting things to not shit sideways the way they did. Maybe she expected to be able to control Ghidorah a little bit better than she did. Spoiler alert. Why might no? No more spoiler alerts. She doesn't. Okay, there are times where they kind of not really control Ghidorah, but like a nuke, kind of aim him in a certain direction. But there's no real control over Ghidorah. And at some point, Ghidorah is like, "Hey, I'm waking up all the Titans, cause fuck this planet." Cause yes, Ghidorah is not from Earth, which is something I am so glad they didn't actually give away in the trailers. They kind of make you think, is he Earth monster, whatever? Why is he frozen? They actually never tell us how he gets frozen in the North Pole. No, Antarctica. My bad, South Pole. But it's fine, because how often do Godzilla movies do that shit where a monster is just in ice? And I'm cool with that. But yeah, once they set him free, he battles Godzilla and kind of battles to a standstill, and then takes off. Was like, "Hey, I got shit to do. I ain't dealing with you right now." Shortly after, they release Rodan, and Rodan's like, "Hey, look at me. I'm the big boss right now. I'm going to start wrecking shit. Woo, because I'm the king. I'm the alpha." And then Monarch's like, "Shit. What are we going to do?" And then they notice that Ghidorah is like, "Hey, I just sensed this guy rise up. I'm going to go show him who's boss." So they're like, "Hey, let's lead Rodan away from humans." So they piss off Rodan. Rodan goes flying towards Ghidorah, gets his ass handed to him, and then is like, "You're the boss now, Ghidorah." Like, because straight up, Rodan is the MonsterVerse's version of Starscream. He's like, "Hey, I'm big and bad." "Oh shit, you're bigger and badder." "Hey, I'm gonna be your homie and do whatever you want me to do." So, and then the two of them, after that, Ghidorah resurrects all the other kaiju titans, whatever this movie wants to call them, across the world. And everybody's like, hey, new alpha in town. Let's, he wants us to start wrecking shit. Let's do it. So, in Destroy All Monsters fashion, all these giant titans are just wrecking the respective areas that they are in, which that is, I'd add, just because I just recently watched Destroy All Monsters again, that's a pretty cool little homage. Like all these monsters like rising up and then destroying the areas that they're in, a la Destroy All Monsters. Nice, I love it. Holy shit, that's awesome. If anything, I kind of wish they would have dedicated a little bit more time to the kaiju destruction across the world. You know, a few more minutes, you know, just show us more, because you tell us there's 17 other kaiju in the world, but you only really show a couple of them. I get it. Hey, FYI, one of those happens to be a new form of Muto. They never actually tell us what kind, if it's like a link between the Mutos from the 2014 Godzilla and then the Muto Prime from the prequel comic book. They don't say, but it doesn't look like the old Mutos. It's got its own new fancy design. It's not quite as big as the female, but it's bigger than the male. But still, that's a pretty cool throwback to, hey, you remember those monsters from that first movie? You know, we're not throwing that first movie away completely. Here you go. That's cool. And honestly, it looks like that the only kaiju besides Godzilla to not fall under Ghidorah's spell is Godzilla. Well, yeah, I just said Godzilla. Kong and Mothra. Oh shit, and I just passed over something like really important. And one of my few gripes with this movie, because right before Ghidorah awakens all the kaiju across the world, him and Godzilla fight again. You know, after him and Rodan have their little tussle, Godzilla shows up, and him and Ghidorah are like wrestling in the ocean, and Godzilla actually manages to rip off one of Ghidorah's heads. It's like the left head, the little derpy one. But, you know, they're sitting there wrestling in the ocean, and then the military's like, hey, you Monarch people need to get out of there, because we have this new high-tech weapon, the oxygen destroyer, that we're going to shoot at these monsters. Okay. I love the fact that they included the oxygen destroyer. That it's like, hey, here's another thing that we know you love. We're going to put it in here. I don't like how throwaway it is. Like, the oxygen destroyer needs to be a bigger deal than it was. And I guess you could sort of say it technically killed Godzilla, but it didn't kill Godzilla. He just became so weak that he had to go to his little underwater home to regenerate. And it didn't do shit to King Ghidorah, which, I'm sorry, but if it's the oxygen destroyer from 1954 would, I feel like, have done some serious damage to Ghidorah. But their excuse is, well, we just discovered he's not from Earth, so obviously it doesn't affect his biology the way it does Earth monsters. And it's like, god damn it. Like, you just totally undersold the oxygen destroyer. Why would you do that to me? I was so happy. It's fine. So yeah, the oxygen destroyer's in this movie. It's great. But not. But still, the fact that they put it in there, it's awesome. But then, alright, now fast forward. Ghidorah summons all the other kaiju. Then heads to Washington, D.C., where him and fucking Rodan are really just giving it to the country. Like, just slamming D.C. like, oh, this is your capital? Fuck you. And I like the whole fact that Ghidorah is one giant natural disaster. Like, everywhere he goes is a fucking hurricane just following him and going with him. And it's like, that's awesome. That is something new and different that's never been done before. By the way, I keep fucking getting ahead of myself. Right before he summons the kaiju, we discover that Ghidorah can regenerate because he, in like a matter of moments, once he takes a second to focus, regenerates that head that Godzilla bit off. It just grows back out, and it's like, oh hey, I'm back, guys. You know, I am all over the place. Can you tell that I was really hyped about this movie? That I'm just like going on and on and on about it because I love this movie. I almost went out to see it again today. I've seen it twice. I'm definitely going to see it at least one more time before my vacation's over. Maybe tonight. Depends how good of a mood my wife is when she gets home. Not the point. So then Ghidorah and Rodan wrecking havoc on DC. Monarch is like, shit, we need to revive Godzilla. Meanwhile, where was it? In Mexico? No, in China. In China, Mothra comes out of her cocoon. We discover that what's her name? Dr. Eileen Chen is actually one half of a pair of twins because we see her sister, Dr. Ling, witnessing the birth of Mothra from her cocoon. And then they completely drop the whole Easter egg of, hey, she comes from a long generation of Monarch employees who are also twins. And it's like, holy shit, yes! They somehow managed to give us the Shobijin without making it like ridiculous and making them little tiny women. I am down for this. You give me a Mothra movie starring Z Zhang. I'm sorry if I'm butchering that name, but ZZ Zhang, with her characters Dr. Chen and Dr. Li as the stars, focusing on Mothra, and Mothra is like defending the world, whatever. I mean, we're gonna have to jump through some hoops because Mothra dies in this movie, but any person in the Godzilla fandom knows that death for Mothra is temporary, because later on in the post-credits they reveal that there is another mysterious egg that just happens to look like Mothra's egg. Surprise, surprise. So give me that movie. I'll take it. Thank you very much. But Mothra emerges and then flies to the Monarch base that's disguised as an oil rig, and like reveals herself and causes what's his name, Kyle Chandler's Mark Russell character, to have an epiphany and kind of a change of heart, and he's like, okay, we need to save Godzilla because otherwise the world is fucked. And you know, he's right. The world is fucked unless they save Godzilla. And then kind of helps them locate where Godzilla is in the ocean. We find out that there's like a symbiotic relationship between Mothra and Godzilla, which if you're one of those people who likes to ship characters and you ship Mothra and Godzilla, you're going to love this movie, because I'm not going to lie, I was one of those kids that was like, ooh, Mothra and Godzilla. But yeah, Godzilla Mothra, totally a thing. So they go down, find the Hollow Earth, or they get sucked into the Hollow Earth and discover this like lost ancient civilization temple type thing where they worshipped Godzilla and all the other monsters as gods. Kind of thinking they might be doing like a whole Atlantis deal, like, hey, remember that place Atlantis that was in history or whatever? This is it. But anyways, they get down there, they find where he's at with some drones, but they can't really get in there because it's highly radioactive and gases and stuff like that. But they've gone down there to hit him with some nukes to really give him a jump start and charge him back up, because if he just sits down there, it's going to take years to recharge, and the Earth doesn't have years. Ghidorah is wrecking shit now. So Serizawa's like, I will take it. I will take the bomb to Godzilla. And they're like, are you sure? And he's like, yeah. And they're like, okay, man. So It's actually a really beautiful moment with Ken Watanabe and Godzilla, and just like him finally getting up close and putting his hand on Godzilla, and it's beautiful. I love it. Give Ken Watanabe all the stuff because I want to see him in more stuff. Anyways, they hit him with he hits him with an atomic bomb, jump starts Godzilla's mojo again. And then the military's like, okay, we're going to join Godzilla in the fight against Ghidorah. There's like, of course, the giant third act battle where they're just like back and forth. Like Godzilla's bigger now because of the modern radiation. Haha, reference to Godzilla versus King Ghidorah. And they're fighting. Mothra shows up to kind of help. And then Ghidorah summons Rodan, who starts fighting Mothra, and it's just like a tag team fucking like going at it, loving this shit. Fucking, Mothra just beats the shit out of, like, alright, not beats the shit out of Rodan. It goes back and forth, but she ends up winning. Like, she has this surprise new power where she has a stinger. I'll take it. I like that better than the thorax of tiny little needles from GMK. She's got a stinger and stabs Rodan through the shoulder, and he's just like, you know what? I'm done. I'm having a hard time with this moth, whatever. And Godzilla, meanwhile, while he's battling Ghidorah, they keep saying, like, his radiation's going through the roof. He's going to fucking explode. And he's just going at it. Meanwhile, while that's going on, the Russell family's having a hard time running around and distracting monsters with the Orca unit, whatever. It's like it plays a vital part, but I could care less because of the monsters on the screen. But it does play a part, you know, it does kind of help. Like there's some Deus Ex Machina shit going on. But whatever, because then, let's see, Godzilla's down. Ghidorah is like about to fucking just blow him away. And Mothra dives down, kind of covers Godzilla, glows a bit, and then flies at Ghidorah. He blasts her, she vaporizes. But then you see the Mothra energy kind of seep into Godzilla, and suddenly this like red glow is coming from his skin, but he's not quite fully recovered yet. And Ghidorah like lifts him up into the sky and drops him. It's just this amazing shot of Godzilla falling and burning in the atmosphere as he hits the ground, which any other creature would be dead, but not Godzilla. Meanwhile, freaking the Russells, this is where they use the Orca to kind of distract King Ghidorah briefly, so to give Godzilla a chance, like a second to take a deep breath, and it works. Ghidorah gets distracted and kills Emma Russell. Does he kill her? Or she just dies. Either way, kills Emma Russell's character, and then freaking Godzilla raises up, and he is burning Godzilla, and like shit is just melting around him, and he does his nuclear pulse, and it's glorious. And as he does the pulse, like you can hear Mothra, her roar, as in she's like giving him this power, and it's so intense, like the heat from it, that he's just melting Ghidorah with his pulse. Like he's not even using his spiral red ray, which is disappointing. I was really hoping to see that, but I'll take what they give me, because hey, you're giving me Godzilla stuff, I'll take it. So he pretty much disintegrates most of Ghidorah with his pulse and blows up, and then after he blows up, he emerges from the rubble with one of Ghidorah's heads. We're assuming it's the middle head because it's the toughest head. And he does his regular atomic breath. He's no longer burning Godzilla. And he uses his atomic breath to just completely vaporize the last of Ghidorah's heads. He emerges victorious. Everyone's like, yay, he won. Good thing he's on our side. And Dr. Chen is like, he's on our side for now. And then he And then he's sort of like there with the sunset and all those other monsters that were raising havoc across the world show up, because damn, they can fucking move pretty fast. They get there and he kind of stares them all down, and then Rodan is like there and he's the first one to just like bow down to Godzilla. It's fucking hilarious. And the rest of them all kind of show their respect, and Godzilla roars into the sky, and it's a fucking beautiful view. And end scene. And end movie, really. I mean, though it's not the end of the movie, because then the credits roll, and during the credits, it's dropping in some stuff about how, hey, Godzilla's keeping the other Titans in check, so they're not running amok. And things are actually turning around, and like this one Titan is helping plants grow in the Amazon, and this other Titan is turning the desert into a forest or whatever. And then they start seeping in some teaser stuff for Godzilla versus Kong, where they say some things about how some Titans are heading to Skull Island for some reason or another, and new cave paintings depicting the Kong species and the Godzilla species were an ancient rivalry. And then there's, a cave painting, like at the end of Skull Island, where it shows a Kong flying at a Godzilla, and that is the end of that. And then it's just credits, awesome Godzilla music, because the entire time the Ifukube, or actually during the little teaser stuff, the updated version for Godzilla, the Go-Go Godzilla song that by Blue Oyster Cult that they did with, I can never pronounce his name, Serge Tankian, and Bear McCreary, the composer, helped write and whatever. That's playing, and that ends, and then we hear just Mothra's song and Godzilla's song and Ghidorah's song, whatever. And then stay through the credits, because there's a post-credit scene, and I'm going to talk about it. It's back to, what's his name? Jonah Allen, Charles Dance's character. Tywin Lannister is speaking to this Hispanic man, talking about how they have hard times now because all the fish are dead, so we're assuming we're back in Mexico near where the oxygen destroyer bomb went off. And they say, or he's saying something about being interested in whatever they have to show him, and they walk into this room, and his eyes kind of squint in evil glee. And then the camera turns, and we kind of not fade back, but like pull back, and this giant golden rotting carcass skull of King Ghidorah, which I'm assuming is the head that Godzilla ripped off when they were fighting in the Gulf of Mexico, and it apparently washed up in Mexico. He's there. He's like, ooh, I want this. So, go to black. Whoo-wee! All right. Where I stand with that, because I've seen a lot of people saying like, oh, it's going to be Mecha King Ghidorah, and I'm just like, that's probably the reference they're trying to make, but I guarantee if they're going to keep going with this, they are not going to do Mecha King Ghidorah. If anything, they're going to use the head of King Ghidorah to experiment, which I don't know if it's a reference to Super Godzilla for the Super Nintendo, but that's a reference for the Super Nintendo Super Godzilla, where you fight Ghidorah, his middle head comes off, so the good guys experiment with it and give Godzilla a boost in power with some Ghidorah cells. I highly doubt they're going to take the Super Godzilla route. That'd be pretty fucking sweet. But I don't think they're going to do Mecha King Ghidorah. What I'm kind of hoping they do, and I say kinda because it'd be a big deviation from the origin, but, as long as they do it right, it's fine. I'm kind of hoping they do some sort of thing where they use that to create Biollante. And the director has even gone on record to say that Biollante is one of his favorites as far as kaiju lore of the Toho monsters. So that would be pretty neat to see Biollante make an appearance. But I think the most logical route that they could take, that they probably will take, and is kind of staying in line with Toho lore and King Ghidorah, it being King Ghidorah, is they use it to experiment. They probably have some other kaiju cells, probably some Muto stuff. They experiment, they mix the two together, they mix up multiple kaiju DNAs to create this uber powerful kaiju titan thing. And playing off of the whole how most of the movie Ghidorah is called Monster Zero, this new monster will be Monster X, which is a direct reference to the Monster X from Final Wars. And in keeping with that, because Monster X turned into Kaiser Ghidorah, I could see the alien DNA of King Ghidorah in this film being strong enough to overwhelm all the other kaiju DNA, and Monster X turning into another form of King Ghidorah, which would be pretty cool in and of itself. If they were gonna do, like, because I hear a lot of people saying that Godzilla and Kong are gonna team up, and that does seem like it's going to happen. And unfortunately, because it looks like this is going, Godzilla vs. Kong is probably going to be the last of the legendary monsterverse we get, unless it somehow banks $2 billion or even $1 billion, which I doubt, because of how badly King of the Monsters is doing right now. Yes, in its first weekend, it's made its budget back, but just its production budget. It hasn't earned any of the advertising back yet, or any of that other stuff that the studios really look at. So while it's not an outright bomb, Warner Brothers and Legendary have zero incentive to keep making Godzilla movies after this. And to be fair, I'm not upset by that, because I get the feeling that once Godzilla vs. Kong is done, Toho, who is just recently, I don't know if they've opened it or if they're coming, but they're getting ready to open up their own branch in Los Angeles. Toho's coming to Los Angeles. They want a stronger foothold in the American movie market. I can see them wanting to get their IP back so that they can be the sole creators, because while it is somewhat profitable for them to just let someone else make it, so that way they can just collect the money that Legendary and Warner Brothers has to pay to use the IP, I'm sure Toho's like, you know what, we'll do it ourselves, because we can make these things on a shoestring budget. Toho is the Blumhouse of kaiju films, okay? And much like Blumhouse, where they make things on a shoestring budget to the point where even if it bombs, it doesn't bomb. It still makes its money back. Like, look at Shin Godzilla. Shin Godzilla made its money back, and it cost almost nothing for them to make. So I can see them wanting to take that approach with any kind of new Godzilla films coming out, and saying like, okay, you guys did great. We're going to start doing our own thing. Thanks for all your efforts. And I'm down with that. Like, let Toho make their movies, and I will watch them. But as far as Godzilla vs. Kong, I really just want a Godzilla vs. Kong movie with a definitive winner at the end. Not a Godzilla vs. Kong with a kind of definitive winner, but then, hey, we need to put our differences aside because this worst threat has arisen and we need to deal with that. I just had a thought that what if, because that head was exposed to whatever chemical radiation is in that universe's version of the oxygen destroyer, mutates it and it becomes that universe's destroyer, would actually be a pretty poetic kind of thing. because considering the Oxygen Destroyer created Destroyer in the Toho-verse, the Oxygen Destroyer affecting King Ghidorah. Anyways, I'm getting off track here. I want a Godzilla vs. Kong movie. What I really want from this movie is not just for Godzilla and Kong to fight like 3 times throughout the movie. I want to see them dealing with all the other kaiju. Like, asserting their dominance over the other kaiju. Like, you got the ones that are loyal to Godzilla, you got the ones that are loyal to Kong, and they're each battling each other's followers or whatever. And then you got... And then you get them fighting it out at some point, and then fighting it out again at another point, and just give me a winner. I don't even care who wins. I know it would seem like complete bullshit if anybody but Godzilla wins, but at this point, I will take whatever you give me. Whoo-wee! This video is running on a little longer than I was expecting, and you know what? I don't care, because when I get passionate about a thing, I keep going and I go 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 and I go. And I love Godzilla. If you follow my YouTube channel, you know how much I love Godzilla. And I'm going to keep spouting all the Godzilla stuff. Maybe some Gamera stuff if we ever get it. We're probably never going to get any more Pacific Rim stuff. I think that's done. Though, wasn't there like a Pacific Rim anime that was supposed to come out at some point? I don't know. Yeah, that sounds familiar. Whatever. If there was, there was. If there wasn't, there wasn't. Point is, Godzilla King of the Monsters. I love this movie. I thought it was great. It is a beautiful love letter to the Godzilla fandom. And unfortunately, it's got the Godzilla fandom torn apart a bit for ones that are like giving it honest movie criticism, which, you know, you are entitled to do. You know, if you think something's wrong with the movie, feel free to say so. And if you don't agree with someone's opinion, that's too bad. They are allowed to have their opinion. Let people have their opinions. Now, if you want to discuss the merits of their opinion, that's fine, but you can't tell them that they're wrong for having their opinion. Because that's the thing, it's their opinion. Fuck. But please be good to each other and just appreciate the fact that we got 3, soon to be 4, really awesome MonsterVerse movies. And this is me assuming that Godzilla vs. Kong is going to be awesome. I have faith in Adam Wingard. I know a lot of people didn't like his Death Note movie, but I thought it was entertaining, especially since I knew nothing about the anime. It worked for me. But besides the point, he's been teed up a ball and he's gonna hit it, and whether it goes out of the park or not is up to him and his movie. I think a lot of the things that hurt King of the Monsters was its decision making on when they were released, on when it was released. Like releasing it the week after Aladdin and then the week before X-Men. You're really just hurting yourself. And I want to say that it should have done better, but it did what it did. And that's all we can just take what happened as what happened. But tell me, what have you thought of the MonsterVerse so far? Did you love King of the Monsters? Are you looking forward to Godzilla vs. Kong? What do you think they're going to do with that King Ghidorah head? Let me know in the comments below. Like, subscribe. You don't have to ring the bell because I don't do this for money. I do this because I want to do this. So, thanks for listening. Bye-bye.